The wind whispered through the streets that night, carrying with it the crisp chill of October, the scent of fallen leaves, and the faint, sugary promise of Halloween. It was the kind of night that made children's laughter feel lighter, more buoyant, and yet, somehow, more fragile. 4 friends padded down the uneven sidewalk, their costumes slightly mismatched, plastic pumpkins swinging in their hands. There was Jake, the fearless one, daring and quick to push boundaries. Mia, the skeptic, cautious yet curious, her eyes constantly scanning shadows as if expecting them to move. Then there was Leo, the nervous one, a jittery mess of energy who kept glancing over his shoulder at every flickering streetlight. And lastly, Sam, the jokester, always ready to make the others laugh, even when the laughter felt like it might be swallowed whole by the night. "Hurry up," Jake urged, tugging on Sam's arm. "We've got a full route tonight. There's a new street I want to hit. Tons of candy." Mia frowned. "Jake? That street? The one at the end of Hemlock Lane? I don't know. It's kind of quiet there. Too quiet." "Quiet is good," Jake said with a grin. "Means people are home giving out the good stuff." Leo shivered. "I don't know, guys. It feels weird. The wind smells different over there." "Different? It's just leaves, Leo." Sam laughed. "Not a haunted forest." But as they turned the corner onto Hemlock Lane, the air seemed to change. The laughter faded, swallowed by the shadows that pooled under the bare branches of skeletal trees. Houses loomed on either side, their windows dark, their porches empty. A few had pumpkins, flickering candles, but most were silent, almost abandoned-looking, and then they saw it. At the very end of the street, almost hidden behind a wall of overgrown hedges, stood a house unlike any they'd seen that night. Its paint was peeling, blackened by age, the windows cloudy and cracked. The porch sagged, boards splitting under the weight of time. A single jack-o'-lantern flickered weakly beside the door, its grin crooked, almost malevolent. Mia stepped back. "Guys, maybe we shouldn't." "Come on," Jake said, his voice firmer, masking a thrill he could barely contain. "It's just one house. Look at it. We could be the first ones here." "The candy has to be amazing." Leo swallowed hard, gripping his pumpkin bucket. "Or we could just not knock." "It's already giving me the creeps," Sam laughed, though it sounded nervous. "What's the worst that could happen? It's Halloween, dude. It's just scary decorations." Jake raised his hand, signaling the group to silence. "All right, let's do it together. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Their knuckles rapped against the weathered wood, the sound echoing unnaturally across the empty street. The door didn't move. Silence. Then, slowly, a creak. A long, dragging creak that seemed to crawl up their spines. The door cracked open, not wide, just enough to reveal darkness beyond. The air from inside the house was colder than the night outside, carrying a scent of dust, decay, and something else. Something faint, metallic. Hello?" Mia's voice wavered. No answer. Leo took a step back. "Yeah, maybe we should go." Jake leaned forward, his curiosity fighting against the unease curling in his stomach. "It's fine. Probably just the wind or, I don't know, a Halloween prank." Then they saw it. A figure, a silhouette in the faint candlelight, standing just beyond the doorway. Still, silent, watching. Sam laughed nervously, trying to hide the tremor in his voice. "Ha, very funny. The figure didn't move, didn't speak. And that's when a faint, almost imperceptible whisper came from inside the house. "Come in." Every instinct screamed at them to run, yet something, curiosity, foolishness, or the daring that only comes with youth, kept them rooted in place. Jake took a deep breath. "It's probably a neighbor in costume, right? Let's just go in, get the candy, and leave." Leo shook his head, backing up. No way, I'm out." Mia grabbed his arm. Wait, maybe it is just candy. Sam looked at the shadowy figure, then at his friends. I mean, how bad could it be? The door creaked wider on its own, as if inviting them. The flickering candlelight cast strange, dancing shapes across the walls of the porch. The jack-o'-lantern's grin seemed sharper, more knowing. And just like that, the line between bravery and foolishness blurred. Jake swallowed hard, heart hammering in his chest, and whispered, almost to himself, "Some doors shouldn't be knocked on." The friends glanced at one another. Hesitation lingered in the air, thick and suffocating, but the pull of curiosity, the irresistible desire to see what lay beyond that threshold, was stronger. And with that, they stepped forward. As their feet crossed the threshold, the wind outside stopped. The street, the trees, the distant houses, all disappeared into a silence so absolute it pressed against their ears like water. And somewhere, deep inside the house, something moved. Something that had been waiting for them all along. The moment their feet crossed the threshold, the door slammed behind them with a deafening crack that made every nerve in their bodies jolt. Dust floated in the sudden stillness, motes catching the flickering candlelight. The wind outside had vanished completely, replaced by a silence so thick it pressed against their ears like water. Jake forced himself to speak first, trying to mask the quiver in his voice. "Okay, that's probably just a draft. No big deal, right?" Mia glanced around, her eyes widening as they adjusted to the dim interior. The house was far older than its exterior suggested. The walls were lined with peeling wallpaper, yellowed with age. Odd symbols, almost like crude carvings, were etched into the wood. Furniture, covered in dust and cobwebs, sat as if frozen in time. A faint, metallic tang lingered in the air, mingling with the scent of decay. Leo whispered, his voice barely audible. "It smells wrong in here, like rust and rot." Sam tried to laugh it off, though it sounded hollow. "It's just an old house, guys. Come on. I've seen scarier basements at my cousin's place." A shadow shifted at the edge of their vision. Not a trick of the candlelight. Not a reflection. A slow, deliberate movement, barely visible, just past the threshold of one hallway. The friends froze. Did anyone else see that?" Mia asked. Jake stepped forward, forcing a calm he didn't feel. Probably just a curtain. Or a coat, left hanging. "Let's check it out." He moved toward the shadow, each footstep creaking against the warped wooden floor. The others followed reluctantly, buckets clutched tightly, hearts hammering. The shadow was gone, but the sense of being watched didn't leave. Every corner of the room seemed to twitch with motion. The candles flickered violently, though there was no breeze. A cold draft brushed the back of their necks, and a faint whisper curled through the air, too soft to understand, but unmistakably human. Leo stumbled backward. "We shouldn't be here. I want to go." Jake shook his head. "Not yet, just let's see where the candy is." As if in answer, a soft dragging sound echoed from the far side of the room, like nails scraping across wood. Sam's nervous laughter died in his throat. "Who's there?" Mia called, her voice shaking, though she tried to sound braver than she felt. No answer. Just the dragging, slow, methodical. Then, the door they had entered through, solid wood, banged against the frame as if someone, or something, was trying to push it open from the other side. Jake ran to it, yanking at the handle. Locked. Mia's eyes went wide. It's locked. There's no lock on the outside. How?" The dragging sound was closer now, coming from a dark hallway that led further into the house. Shapes seemed to twist in the shadows. Angles that shouldn't exist. Corners that opened into walls. Walls that stretched farther than possible. "Let's just find the candy and leave," Sam muttered. But even his bravado was gone. They turned toward the hallway. The first step felt like a mistake. The floor beneath them groaned under their weight, and the shadows seemed to lean closer, stretching and writhing unnaturally. At the end of the hallway, a door stood slightly ajar. Candlelight flickered from within, revealing more of the strange interior. Old portraits stared down at them from the walls, faces twisted in expressions of horror, their eyes seeming to follow the children's every movement. Some of the frames were cracked, some painted over, all unnervingly lifelike. Jake forced himself forward. "Maybe it's just a storage room, or someone's Halloween setup," Mia's voice cracked. It's not like anything I've ever seen," Leo whimpered. I think we should go back." But the house didn't give them a chance. The door at the end of the hallway slammed shut on its own. A gust of cold air blew out the candles, plunging them into darkness. Sam yelped as a faint, chilling voice hissed from the shadows. "Stay. Forever." Panic surged. The children clung to one another as a flickering light returned from a single candle on a dusty table. They froze as they realized on the table were small piles of candy, bright, colorful wrappers, the kind that made children's mouths water. But there was something else. Tiny, crude carvings of figures. Children, perhaps, etched into the table. The wrappers were arranged around them like offerings. Jake's stomach turned. This isn't normal." Mia leaned closer to the table, squinting. The carvings were detailed, grotesque. And then she noticed the initials, small, faint letters carved on the side of one figure. They matched their own. Leo's face went pale. Oh no!" Sam stumbled back. No way! That's impossible." A sudden thud echoed from the ceiling above. Dust rained down as if something, or someone, was moving above them. The candlelight flickered again, and in that instant, they thought they saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. Tall, thin, unnaturally still, faceless in the shadows. Watching, Mia grabbed Jake's arm. "We have to leave. Now!" Jake's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed to run, but the hallway seemed longer than before. The door behind them remained locked, and the faint whisper of the house's voice circled around them, taunting. "You should never have come in. But now, you belong." And then it came, the first sound of a footstep behind them. Slow, heavy, deliberate. None of the kids moved. None of them dared. The thing that watched from the shadows had begun to move. As the footstep echoed closer, the candle flickered violently, casting the shadows of the children across the walls in grotesque, twisted forms. When the light steadied, one of the children was gone. Not screaming, not running, simply vanished. And the whispers grew louder. "The game begins." The silence after the disappearance was suffocating. Jake's heart hammered in his chest as he scanned the dim room, eyes straining against the flickering candlelight. Mia gripped his arm, trembling, while Leo sank to the floor, his pumpkin bucket clutched like a shield. Sam was staring at the walls, his face pale as though he'd seen something that had stolen the color from the world. Where did he go?" Leo whispered, his voice barely audible. Jake swallowed hard, forcing his mind to stay sharp. "I don't know, but we can't stay here. We need to find him. Or leave." Mia shook her head. "Leave? The door is locked. There's no way out, and I'm not sure leaving is even possible." The hallway before them stretched impossibly long. Shadows pooled in every corner, moving with a life of their own. Something about the air, thick, heavy, and impossibly cold, made it hard to breathe. Faint whispers curled around their ears, soft but distinct, like voices carried from another room. Jake took a cautious step forward. "Okay, we go slowly. Stay together." "Don't!" A sudden clatter interrupted him. A small object skittered across the floor. A broken toy, maybe a doll's arm, dragging itself unnaturally across the wood, as if pulled by unseen fingers. Leo yelped and grabbed Mia's sleeve. I told you this place is cursed or something." Sam, trembling, pointed toward a room to the left. There! Look! The doorway led into a room that seemed untouched by time. The floorboards were clean, polished, almost unnervingly so. On a long table lay an assortment of objects, more candy, small carved figurines, and strange artifacts they couldn't identify. Some glowed faintly, as if absorbing the flickering candlelight and bending it to themselves. Mia stepped closer, compelled despite herself. What? What is all this? Jake leaned over the table, brushing his fingers across the surface. Instantly, a chill shot up his arm. The carvings on the figurines looked disturbingly like people, children, frozen in terrified expressions. His stomach churned. Guys, this isn't candy, he muttered. This is something else. Something wrong. A low creak sounded behind them. They spun around. In the doorway, a shadow stood. Tall, thin, faceless, completely still. The candlelight caught its edges, giving it the faintest shimmer, like smoke forming into shape. Mia gasped. It's watching us. Jake tried to speak. Wait, we need to move. Slowly. Don't. The shadow shifted. A footstep. Then another. Closer. The air grew heavier, pressing down on their shoulders. The whispers began again, repeating words they didn't understand, yet somehow made their skin crawl. Curious. Foolish. Stay. Leo began to back away, tripping over a loose floorboard. The sound echoed unnaturally through the hallway. The shadow stopped, then slowly turned its faceless head toward him. Sam grabbed Leo's arm. Run! But instinct and fear collided. Their bodies froze as the shadows in the corners began to twist, forming shapes that shouldn't exist. Figures with elongated limbs and hollow eyes appeared on the walls, crawling closer as if reaching for them. Follow me, Jake shouted, grabbing Mia's hand. They bolted down a side corridor, the hallway behind them seeming to stretch further than possible. Every turn they took led them deeper into the house, deeper into the unknown. Rooms shifted as they ran. What had been a short hallway became a labyrinth of doors and corridors. Mirrors lined some walls, and in each reflection they saw themselves, or versions of themselves, that weren't right. Their eyes were too wide, their mouths twisted in silent screams, and their movements lagged behind their real bodies as if the reflections had a will of their own. Mia tripped, barely catching herself on a table. She glanced at the mirror beside her and froze. Behind them, no, in the reflection alone, something moved. A figure, tall and faceless, standing motionless, watching. Don't look at it, Jake hissed. Don't. Just keep moving. They pressed forward, the floorboards groaning under their weight. A staircase loomed ahead, descending into darkness. The faint smell of decay grew stronger, mingling with the metallic tang that had greeted them when they first entered. Jake took a step down the stairs. It's the only way. As they descended, the candlelight flickered violently, throwing shadows against the walls that seemed alive. The whispers rose, louder now, almost chanting, "Curiosity. Punished. Stay. Forever." At the bottom of the staircase, they found themselves in a wide, dimly lit room. The walls were lined with hundreds of tiny, crudely carved figurines, each one frozen in a pose of terror. Some were posed with their heads thrown back in silent screams. Others clutched at invisible hands. And at the far end of the room stood a figure. They knew it, without seeing it fully. Tall, faceless, patient, waiting. Leo stumbled backward, trembling. We're trapped. We can't leave. Mia gripped his hand. We have to hide, or fight, or... A scraping sound echoed from the walls. Slowly, a door at the far end of the room creaked open on its own. A faint, flickering candlelight spilled out, revealing a narrow hallway leading further into the house. Jake took a deep breath. We have no choice. We go forward. Stick together. Whatever happens, we survive. And with that, They stepped into the darkness. The hallway stretched on longer than it should have, the walls pressing inward, as if the house itself was alive, reshaping around them. The candlelight flickered, casting shadows that moved independently, crawling along the walls, twisting into shapes too grotesque to describe. Jake led the group cautiously, every step a battle against the rising panic in his chest. Behind them, the whispering voices grew louder, more insistent, echoing with a tone that seemed almost hungry. Curious. Stay. Forever. Mia clutched her pumpkin bucket tightly, trying to keep her thoughts together. We can't go back. The doors, they won't open. They don't exist anymore. Leo's knees nearly gave out. Then we're trapped. A sudden thud cut him off. Something had slammed against the wall near them. Not a crash, but a deliberate, heavy impact, like the weight of something large, moving just beyond the shadows. The floorboards vibrated with each movement. Sam swallowed hard, voice shaking. We shouldn't be here. I don't care about candy anymore. I want out. Jake took a deep breath. Okay, no splitting up. Stick together. Watch each other's backs. If the house wants to play tricks, we stay smart. We survive. They pressed on, but the house refused to let them feel safe. Doors appeared and disappeared along the corridor, some leading to rooms that twisted impossibly inward, others opening to walls that hadn't been there a moment before. Shadows clung to the edges of the halls, crawling toward them. Though nothing moved within, at one point, they entered a room filled with mirrors, each reflecting their terrified faces. And then something else. Behind them, in the glass alone, stood figures they hadn't noticed in the room itself. One was tall, faceless, arms hanging unnaturally low. Another was a child-sized silhouette, frozen mid-step, watching. Mia's voice trembled. Don't look at them. Just keep moving. Jake nodded, but his stomach churned. We have to find a way out. Or find him, Leo, Sam, whoever disappeared. The floorboards groaned as they crossed a long hall lined with cobwebs. Somewhere in the distance, a soft lullaby floated down from above, warped and off-key. Its melody was familiar, but wrong, like hearing a childhood song played backward. The children froze, chills crawling up their spines. Leo whimpered. It's calling us. I don't want it. A sudden scrape of metal against wood sounded from the far end of the hall. The children spun around, hearts pounding. In the flickering candlelight, a shadow detached itself from the wall. A long, thin shape that moved impossibly, sliding rather than walking, silent, yet filled with purpose. Sam grabbed Jake's sleeve. It's coming for us! The group bolted down a side corridor. Their footsteps echoed unnaturally, bouncing off walls that seemed farther apart than reality allowed. Each turn brought another horror. Rooms that defied geometry, doors leading to rooms stacked impossibly on top of one another, ceilings that lowered without warning. Mia stumbled into a small study filled with old books, its shelves warped and twisting. One book fell open on the floor, pages fluttering, revealing crude illustrations, children trapped in boxes, eyes wide in terror, and at the bottom of the page, a single word carved into the paper. Stay. Jake shuddered. It's showing us what happens if we don't leave. We have to keep moving. They turned a corner, and the hallway behind them had vanished. Where the walls had been, there was now a smooth, unbroken expanse of wood. No doors, no windows. They were trapped. A soft, deliberate clapping echoed through the hall, slow, rhythmic, mocking. From the shadows ahead, a figure began to emerge. Tall, faceless, its presence radiating cold. The air around it shimmered unnaturally. It didn't move toward them yet, but its gaze, though featureless, made their stomachs churn. Leo collapsed to his knees. I don't want to die here. I can't, please. Mia grabbed him, dragging him forward. No, We survive.
We survive!
Jake tried to rally the others, but even he felt the rising fear clawing at his mind. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet the house offered no exit, no safety. Every step forward felt like walking deeper into a trap. A sudden, sharp sound made them freeze. A door somewhere slamming open, followed by whispers now clear enough to hear, "You cannot leave."
Not yet.
Mia's eyes widened as she spotted something on the wall. Hundreds of scratches, marks etched as if by fingernails. And in the scratches, names. Names of children. Some familiar, some unfamiliar. And at the very top, a new set of initials. Fresh, deep, deliberate. Jake's heart stopped. Those are us. The house had begun to mark them, counting them, naming them, claiming them. Panic surged, threatening to consume them, yet they had no choice but to move deeper. The walls seemed to close in, the shadows crawling ever closer, the whispers intensifying. Curiosity punished. Stay forever. And somewhere in the twisting labyrinth of corridors, the first faint cries of the lost child echoed back to them, hollow, distant, and terrifying. The children pressed forward, their legs trembling, hearts hammering in unison. Every step seemed to echo louder than the last, bouncing through the endless, twisting corridors of the house. The air was thick, heavy, and metallic, making it hard to breathe. The whispers had grown sharper, more distinct, mocking, accusatory, almost alive. Foolish, curious, belong. Jake tried to lead, his voice a strained whisper. We have to keep moving. Stick together. Mia glanced over her shoulder. The hallway behind them seemed to ripple, the walls bending, shifting as if the house were watching, waiting, shaping itself around them. Shadows clung to the edges of their vision, sliding closer, always just out of reach. Leo whimpered. It's following us. I can feel it. Sam swallowed hard. I don't even know what it is.
Something's in here with us.
Something wrong? Jake shook his head. It's just a shadow. Just fear. We can beat fear. We survive. We... The words died in his throat. Ahead, a tall, faceless shape detached itself from the shadows. It moved slowly, deliberately, its presence pressing down like a weight on their shoulders. The flickering candlelight revealed nothing about it. No face, no features, just an emptiness that seemed to absorb the light. The group froze. Mia's voice shook. It's watching us. It knows we're scared. The figure tilted its head, impossibly slow, as if considering them, not with eyes, but with some unseen awareness. Then it vanished. The sudden absence was worse than its presence. The air seemed colder, heavier, filled with a pressure that pushed at their minds. Whispers erupted again, louder, faster, overlapping. Stay! Belong. Punished. Forever. Jake's hands shook as he pointed down a narrow side corridor. We have to go that way. Maybe it can't follow us if we keep moving. They ran, their footsteps echoing in the twisting hallways. Every corner revealed more signs of the house's power. Cracked mirrors reflected them back with twisted faces, limbs elongated or missing, mouths open in silent screams. Walls bore scratches, names, dates, marks that seemed to count them. Mia stopped abruptly. Look, on the wall, faint markings were appearing as they passed, fresh scratches clawing themselves into the wood. Jake squinted. They were tally marks, counting. Something. Counting them? Counting time? Counting? Victims? A low scraping noise came from above. Dust fell from the ceiling as if something large had walked overhead. The floor vibrated with each step. Run! Sam shouted, yanking Leo's arm. They bolted down another corridor, turning into a small room filled with old furniture, toppled and broken. Dolls, their faces cracked and eyes hollow, stared at them from shelves. The room felt alive, breathing, pulsating with a slow rhythm that matched their racing hearts. From the shadows, a soft, deliberate sound emerged. A footstep, slow, moving closer. The faceless figure appeared again, watching from the far side of the room. The shadows around it twisted and stretched, reaching toward the children with long black tendrils. Leo screamed. It's trying to get us." Jake grabbed Mia and Sam, dragging them toward another doorway. "Don't look at it. Don't. Just move." They stumbled into a narrow hallway lined with doors. One door creaked open, revealing a small study. On the desk lay a journal, its cover old and cracked, pages yellowed with age. Something about it drew Jake in, as if it held answers. Maybe this can help us," he whispered, flipping it open. The pages were filled with strange drawings, notes about children who had disappeared, and symbols, like those etched into the walls, repeating over and over. One passage caught his eye. "The house watches. The house feeds. Curiosity is punished. Shadows follow those who linger." Mia leaned closer. It's all here. The house. It's alive. It knows we're here." From behind them came a soft scrape. They turned, hearts leaping. The figure had returned. Closer this time, sliding along the walls, faceless eyes locked on them. The shadows stretched further, bending the corridor into impossible angles. Jake slammed the journal shut. "We need to move. Now." The whispers rose to a deafening chorus. "Foolish. Stay. Belong. Punished. Forever." They ran, rounding a corner into a room that seemed impossibly vast. The walls were lined with the carved figurines again. Hundreds of them, each frozen in terror. And in the center, a small pile of candy, bright, colorful, inviting, but surrounded by tiny carvings shaped like children, eyes wide in horror. Mia shivered. "It's feeding on us, on our fear." A sudden crash came from above, followed by footsteps. The house shifted, corridors twisting, the ceiling lowering. They were trapped, yet somehow forced forward, drawn deeper into the nightmare. Jake's voice was firm, but strained. "Stick together. We survived this. Together. No matter what." The shadows recoiled slightly, as if sensing his defiance. The figure lingered, silent, patient, waiting. The house itself seemed to pulse around them, walls breathing, floors stretching, shadows writhing. Somewhere in the distance, faint, hollow cries echoed. The child who had disappeared before, and the whispers now formed words they could almost understand. "The game begins, and it never ends." The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, shadows twisting along the walls as the children pressed forward. Their legs were shaking, but the fear that gripped them was more than physical. It was the knowledge that something unseen was always a step ahead, waiting, watching. Jake held the journal tightly in his hands. The pages crackled with age, almost as if the house itself resented its secrets being revealed. Symbols and drawings covered every page. Children frozen in impossible positions, twisted shapes, rooms that didn't exist in reality, and among the illustrations, a story began to emerge. This isn't just a haunted house," Jake whispered. "It's alive, it feeds, and there's someone, or something, that lives here." Mia leaned over his shoulder. Who could do this?" Jake pointed to a page that showed a tall, thin figure with a featureless face. Beside it, a series of drawings showed children being drawn inside the house, leaving only figurines behind. Written in the margins was a note, faint and hurried. "The keeper watches. Curiosity is punished. Do not linger, or you belong." Leo's voice shook. "Keeper, that's what's been following us." Jake nodded grimly. "It has to be. And look, the name's here. Every child, every person, taken by the house. There's a pattern. It's been doing this for decades." Sam swallowed hard. Decades, so it's been waiting. For kids like us? The shadows seemed to pulse around them, almost in response to the realization. The house groaned, stretching the corridors and rooms, reshaping itself. It wasn't just a building, it was a predator, and they were prey. Mia shuddered, pointing to a drawing of a house almost identical to the one they were in. Look at this! It's the same. The same doors, the same hallway, and see, the children are drawn here, and the keeper? It waits. It waits for the curious ones. Jake's eyes narrowed. That's why the first kid disappeared. It claimed him. It's counting us. Testing us, Leo whimpered. So, what? What do we do? How do we survive? Jake shook his head. We have to be smart. We have to understand it. The journal. It has clues. The journal's pages hinted at ways the keeper manipulated the house. The walls could shift. The floors could stretch. Rooms could appear and disappear. And the shadows? The shadows were extensions of the keeper, hunting, observing, waiting for fear to weaken its prey. Mia pointed to a section near the back of the journal. The keeper is bound by its own rules. Fear feeds it, but cleverness can delay it. Knowledge is a weapon. Jake closed the journal with determination. We have to use that. Stay together, watch the shadows, and don't show fear. We might have a chance. The children pressed onward, entering a vast room with ceilings impossibly high. The walls were covered in more carvings, hundreds of names etched deep into the wood. The flickering candlelight revealed piles of figurines, each more grotesque than the last, frozen in terror. Some even resembled the friends themselves. Leo gagged, stumbling backward. That's us! That's what it wants to do to us! A soft, low hum filled the room, vibrating through the floorboards. The keeper wasn't here, at least not yet, but its presence was undeniable. The air itself seemed alive, moving around them like water. Mia whispered, trembling. We need to find a way out. Or we need to fight it. Jake looked around, scanning the room. There was a door on the far side, almost hidden in shadows, its frame warped and cracked. That's our next move. It might lead somewhere, or maybe deeper in, but we have no choice. As they moved toward the door, the shadows on the walls shifted unnaturally. Figures reached toward them, stretching impossibly, twisting in ways human limbs never could. Whispers filled their ears. Curiosity. Punished. Stay. Belong. The children reached the door, and Jake forced it open. Beyond lay a narrow corridor leading downward, deeper into the house. The air was colder here, metallic, carrying the scent of decay. Somewhere below, a faint scratching echoed, like nails dragging across wood. Jake's grip on the journal tightened. This is it. We have to keep going. We have to understand it, or it will claim us all. Mia swallowed hard. Do you think we can survive? Jake glanced back at his friends, the shadows stretching closer, the air thick with menace. We have to. We have no choice. And somewhere in the darkness, the keeper watched, patient, silent, waiting for their next move. The corridor beneath the house seemed endless. Every step the children took was measured, cautious, as if the house itself were waiting to see who faltered first. The air was thick and cold, smelling faintly of rust and decay, and the shadows along the walls seemed to stretch further, crawling closer with every heartbeat. Jake held the journal tightly, scanning its pages for clues. Symbols scrawled across the margins glimmered faintly in the candlelight, and he tried to decipher them as they moved. We have to find an exit, he whispered. The keeper. It can't trap us if we understand its rules. Mia clutched Leo's arm. But where do we go? Every hallway bends and twists. Nothing makes sense anymore. A soft, deliberate scraping echoed behind them. The shadows shifted in response, writhing along the walls as if alive. The keeper wasn't visible, but its presence was undeniable, watching, waiting, patient. Jake spotted a narrow side passage partially hidden by a fallen beam. This way, it's a risk, but it might be the only chance. The children moved silently, treading carefully over the warped floorboards. The passage was tight, forcing them to move single file. Candlelight flickered against the walls, revealing strange carvings, figures frozen in terror, symbols that seemed to pulse under their eyes. Suddenly, the floor tilted sharply beneath them, as if the house were reacting to their movements. Leo stumbled, nearly falling, and a cold gust of wind swept through the corridor, extinguishing the candlelight. Darkness enveloped them. Mia's voice trembled. "Jake, I can't see!" Jake's hand found hers, gripping tightly. "Keep moving. Stay close." The shadows thickened, stretching along the walls, reaching for them. Faint whispers grew into chanting, "Curiosity punished. Stay. Belong. Forever." Then they saw it. A door at the end of the passage, slightly ajar, faint light spilling through. The children bolted toward it, relief surging, thinking this might be their escape. But as they reached it, the door twisted, stretching impossibly upward. The light beyond warped and flickered. The walls bent, closing in around them. The hallway behind vanished, leaving only a solid, unbroken expanse of wood. The keeper had anticipated their move. From the shadows, a soft, slow footstep echoed, deliberate, measured. The children froze. In the faint light, the tall, faceless figure emerged, gliding across the warped floor toward them. Its presence pressed against their minds, cold and suffocating, radiating hunger. Leo screamed. "Run!" They scattered, darting into side rooms as the house seemed to shift around them. Ceilings lowered, walls stretched, corridors twisted. Every escape route became a trap. Reflections in mirrors showed them running endlessly. Faces twisted in terror, never reaching an exit. Jake grabbed Mia and Sam, dragging them toward a small stairwell descending further into the darkness. We have to go down! It can't follow us here, at least not fully." The stairwell creaked and groaned under their weight, but they pressed on. At the bottom, they found themselves in a vast cellar, the air thick with the metallic tang of blood and decay. Faint candlelight flickered from sconces along the walls, revealing piles of old toys, rusted tools, and more carved figurines. A soft scraping sound came from the far end of the room. Shadows pooled there, moving unnaturally. The keeper had followed them, patiently, unhurried, letting them feel hope only to snatch it away. Jake clenched his fists. "We can't give up. We have to be clever. The journal. It told us fear feeds it. Don't show fear. Stay calm. We survive." Mia swallowed hard, trying to steady her shaking. "But it's everywhere. How do we even fight it?" A sudden thud reverberated through the cellar. Dust fell from the ceiling as something moved above them. The keeper wasn't rushing. They realized this now. It was patient. It could manipulate time, space, and perception. And they were prey, being tested, hunted. Sam whispered, voice quivering. I don't think anyone ever escapes this place." Jake shook his head. "We will! We have to! We understand it now. We know its rules. We can use them." As they pressed deeper into the cellar, faint markings appeared on the walls. Fresh scratches, tally marks, and symbols counting them. The keeper had begun marking their presence, claiming them, even as it waited to see how far they would push. From somewhere behind them, a faint, hollow cry echoed, the child who had vanished earlier. It was a reminder. Failure meant being claimed, being trapped forever as one of the keeper's carved figurines. Jake swallowed hard, determination rising. "This way, stay close. We find the exit, or we die trying, but we survive. Together." The shadows receded slightly as they moved forward, but they knew it was only temporary. The keeper watched, patient and eternal. Waiting for the moment their courage faltered. And somewhere, Deep in the twisting corridors above, it whispered, "The game is just beginning." The cellar stretched before them like an endless cavern of shadows. Every corner seemed to shift, twisting their perception, making the space feel both enormous and claustrophobic at once. Candlelight flickered along the walls, revealing piles of carved figurines, children frozen in expressions of terror, their forms grotesque and lifeless. Some of the figurines looked uncannily like them. Jake clutched the journal tightly. "We know its rules now," he whispered. "Fear feeds it. We stay calm. We stay smart. And we don't let it claim us." Mia's teeth chattered. It's everywhere. I can feel it." Watching, a soft, deliberate scraping echoed from above. The shadows along the walls stretched, moving as if alive. And then it appeared. The keeper, tall, faceless, silent. Its presence pressed down on them like a weight, cold and absolute. Shadows pooled around it, twisting and writhing with a life of their own. The air itself seemed to vibrate, whispering the same phrase over and over. "Foolish, curious, belong," Leo whimpered. We can't fight it. We're doomed," Jake shook his head. "No, we don't fight it with strength. We fight it with knowledge." He opened the journal, flipping to a page marked with strange symbols and instructions. "It obeys rules. It traps us, yes, but it can't act outside its rules. It's bound to the house, and the house has weaknesses." Sam swallowed hard, his voice shaking. "Weaknesses? What weaknesses?" Jake pointed to a passage. "The keeper's reach is long, but it is tethered. Its power comes from fear. Disrupt its focus, stay calm, and it can be manipulated. Knowledge is the weapon," Mia shivered. "So, we trick it?" Jake nodded. "Exactly. If we can keep our fear under control, we can confuse it, maybe even escape." The keeper shifted, slowly advancing. Shadows reached toward them, long black tendrils curling like smoke. Its presence pressed on their minds, testing, probing, waiting for a crack of panic. Leo's knees buckled. I can't." "It's too much!" Mia grabbed him. "Yes, you can. We survived this. Together!" Jake whispered. "Everyone, focus on the symbols in the journal. Repeat them in your head. Don't let it see your fear." They did as instructed, reciting the strange shapes, murmuring the phrases, focusing on the knowledge they now had. The shadows recoiled slightly, twisting violently as if the keeper felt their defiance. A sudden rush of cold air swept through the cellar. The keeper lurched, faltering, momentarily confused. Shadows shrieked and writhed. For a brief moment, the children had the upper hand. Jake gestured toward a small door at the far end of the cellar, partially hidden behind a pile of broken furniture. "That's our way out. Move quietly, slowly. Don't provoke it further." They crept forward, hearts hammering, as the keeper tried to reassert control. Its faceless head tilted unnaturally, shadows stretching to block their path. But they focused, reciting the symbols, maintaining their calm. Mia grabbed Leo's hand. "Almost there. Almost there." The keeper's presence surged, tendrils of shadow stretching, curling around them, testing, probing, but unable to fully touch them as long as they maintained their focus. Jake reached the door first, yanking it open. Beyond lay a narrow stairwell leading upward, faint light spilling from above. "Go! Keep calm! Don't stop!" One by one, they scrambled up the stairs, shadows lashing out but unable to follow fully. The keeper's growl, or was it a whisper, echoed through the house. "You cannot leave." Not yet. The stairwell led them to a small attic room, dust-covered, but with a window at the far end. Faint moonlight spilled in, illuminating the cracked glass. They ran to it, hearts pounding, and one by one climbed out onto the slanted roof. The keeper did not follow. Its faceless form lingered in the shadows of the attic, waiting, patient, tethered to the house itself. Mia gasped for breath. We made it! We're out! Jake's voice was firm, though ragged. Not completely. The keeper can't leave the house, but it knows we escaped. It will wait. It will remember. But for now, we survived. Leo sank to the roof, trembling. I never want to see another Halloween. Sam shook his head, voice quiet. I don't think we ever really leave this place. In our heads, it's still there, watching. Jake looked back at the house, silhouetted against the night sky. The windows were dark, still, silent, but the sense of being observed never left. Somewhere inside, the keeper waited, patient, eternal, and hungry. They had survived the first confrontation. They had learned the rules, but the house was far from done with them. The children sat on the slanted roof, gasping for breath under the moonlight. Their bodies shook, minds reeling from the horrors they had just survived. Below them, the house stood silent, dark, still, but they knew it was not powerless. The keeper lingered, patient and eternal, tethered to its domain. Jake wiped sweat and grime from his forehead. We can't stay here. Eventually, it will find another way to reach us. We need to get home, and we need to make sure it doesn't follow. Mia's hands were trembling as she pointed down the street. The other houses, they're all normal. We can just go back the way we came. Leo shook his head violently. No, we can't go back the way we came. The house, it knows, it waits. It's smarter than us. We need another way, Jake thought quickly. The journal, it mentioned that the keeper is tethered. Its power is strongest inside. If we leave the property, it can't reach us. We just have to get past it and the yard. Slowly, carefully, Sam's voice was quiet, almost a whisper. What if it comes through the windows? What if it can follow? Jake shook his head. It can't, not outside. That's the only thing keeping us alive right now. The four friends crept down from the roof, keeping low, shadows stretching unnaturally around them. The air seemed to thrum with anticipation, the house itself humming with quiet menace. When they reached the side yard, the gate loomed ahead, wrought iron dark against the night. Beyond it, the familiar street, the ordinary houses, normalcy they hadn't realized they'd been craving. Mia froze. It's watching us. I can feel it. Jake nodded, gripping the journal. Ignore it. Don't show fear. Keep moving. Step by step, they advanced. Shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, reaching, stretching, but never touching. The whispers echoed softly, distant now. Curiosity, punished. Stay, belong. Leo tripped over a rock. A shadow whipped toward him, tendrils curling, but Jake grabbed his arm, pulling him up. Focus! Don't look at it! Don't feel it! The children sprinted the last few yards, hearts hammering. The gate swung open under Jake's push, and they tumbled onto the street, moonlight washing over them. Ordinary asphalt beneath their feet. They didn't stop running until the house was a distant silhouette, dark and silent at the end of the block. Only then did they collapse on the curb, gasping for air, shaking from adrenaline and terror. Mia's voice was barely audible. We made it. We're alive. Jake nodded, staring back at the house. Yes, but it's still there. It'll remember us. It waits for the next curious ones. Leo shook, voice trembling. I don't ever want to go trick-or-treating again. Sam looked at the group, finally allowing himself a small, shaky laugh. We survived, somehow, but I don't know if I can ever forget. The moonlight bathed the street in silver calm, but the sense of being watched lingered. The children slowly made their way home, each step feeling heavier than the last. Behind them, the house remained silent, windows dark, walls unmoving, but the keeper had not forgotten. Somewhere in the shadows, in the twisting corridors and endless hallways, it waited, patient, eternal, and hungry. The children had escaped, for now, but the memory of the house, the keeper, and the horrors inside would haunt them forever. And on the next Halloween, when the night is dark and the wind whispers through empty streets, the house would be waiting again for the next curious souls who knock on the wrong door for candy. The street was quiet now, the moonlight casting long shadows across the empty pavement. The children trudged home, each step heavy with exhaustion, fear, and disbelief. Their pumpkins, once full of candy, were empty, the sugary rewards meaningless compared to what they had endured. Jake glanced back one last time. The house stood at the end of the block, silent, dark, unmoving. But he knew better. He could feel its presence in the air, a lingering tension that made his skin crawl. Somewhere inside, the keeper waited, patient, eternal, and ever watchful. At home, their parents noticed the pallor of their faces, the trembling hands, the silence that replaced the usual chatter. But no words could capture what they had experienced, and so they told their parents they had knocked on the wrong door. That's all. A simple mistake, easily dismissed. But the memory would not fade. That night, Jake lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening for the faintest creak or whisper. The image of the faceless keeper haunted his thoughts. He could still see the carved figurines, the twisting hallways, the shadows reaching out. Every flicker of light in his room seemed to carry the hint of movement. Every gust of wind a whisper of the house calling his name. Mia's parents noticed her shivering in sleep, murmuring faintly about shadows and whispers. Leo refused to eat candy for weeks, even avoiding the small treats left over from Halloween. Sam avoided mirrors for days, his eyes flicking nervously at every reflection. The four friends met again, huddled together in a quiet corner of the park the next evening. They didn't speak much. Words felt insufficient. But in the shared silence, they acknowledged the truth. They had survived, yes, but they had also been marked. The keeper had seen them, studied them, and somewhere, deep in the darkness of that house, it remembered. Jake finally broke the silence. We survived this time, but the house, it's not done, and we know its rules now. That's our only protection. Knowledge is our shield, calm is our weapon. But we can never forget. Mia shivered, looking down at her hands. Do you think it will ever stop? Jake's eyes hardened. No, it doesn't stop. It waits. And someday, someone else will knock on the wrong door. And it will be waiting for them. That's the way it's always been. And somewhere, far away, the wind carried a faint whisper. Curiosity punished. Stay! Belong! Forever! Halloween had ended, but the night's horrors had not. The memory of the keeper, the shifting house, and the faces of those lost inside lingered in their minds, a shadow they would carry for the rest of their lives. Somewhere down the block, in the darkness beyond familiar streetlights, the house waited silently. Patient, eternal, hungry. And when the next group of curious children came knocking for candy, it would be ready. Because some doors are meant never to be opened. That's all for today, folks. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!